Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters. And man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome for Tuesday Training. As always, we do this show live right here at Syndicate headquarters at 9 a.m. Central every single Tuesday. And the goal is always the same, man, is try to bring you guys actionable content, stuff that you can use to put in your business immediately to grow your business, improve your business, create efficiencies, etc. And we're going to talk about something a little different, man. Most of the time when I run this show, we're talking about sales tactics, industry knowledge, product knowledge, etc., team building, things of that nature. But we are going to talk about cybersecurity today. It's super important. And before we jump in, we're going to kick off some news, which includes a data breach. So check this out right here. Let me share this for you real fast. Get this on my screen. But here we go. Right here from AARP. This was put out in a few articles today. But nearly 1 million more Medicare beneficiaries may be affected in a year-old data breach. This is old news technically. This was last year's data breach that about 1 million people probably got their Medicare number, their name, their birth date, their address, their social security number. Nothing very serious, right? They got all that stuff typed right out of the system. But they're coming back and they say it might actually be bigger than we thought. Maybe another 1 million Medicare beneficiaries were actually affected in this data breach from last year. And then it goes through some basic tips on how you can protect yourself. One of the things that I will say, and then again, this is the Move It data breach. So again, this is from last year. Some of you guys probably remember this. I talked about it back then. They're just saying, hey, now that we're doing some more investigation, we are seeing that more people were affected than we originally thought. But they are doing some outreach as well. I wanted to say it stated in here, but it might have been one of the other articles I was looking at. But Medicare will be reaching out to some people, their beneficiaries, that they believe may have been affected. So take care of your info. Maybe tell some of your clients that, hey, it's a good time to beef up your identity protection. And this article, which will be in our group for the Insurance Syndicate, we'll go through some details on things that they can do. And then certainly our guest today is going to talk about that as well. Super excited. So moving along, couple more quick news articles for you. Nothing too extensive. As always, you guys know it, man. I love to talk about Kaiser Family Foundation, and they've done it again. This was an update that was put out on Sunday. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's lengthy, but I've already posted it in the group. And this is the key trends and basically updates for Medicare Advantage in 2024. This is a lot deeper than the one that I talked about last week. This is going to go through, obviously, not only the enrollment data, as we're seeing we are now at 54% national penetration for Medicare Advantage enrollment. But you will also see very specific details on the types of plans these folks were enrolled in, the number of beneficiaries. It goes through a lot of stuff. It even goes through penetration. You can look at penetration by county. You can actually compare it from 2014 to 2024 and see kind of like a little snapshot of the growth. And it'll even get you all the way down by county. Like you could pick any specific county you want to look at, like right here where I'm at in, or actually Williamson County, Texas. We're looking at a 51% Medicare Advantage penetration, which doesn't necessarily mean that 49% have Medicare supplements, because as we know, there's always a percentage of people out there that are just running around with old Medicare A and B and zero supplemental coverage. But it's interesting to see that because Williamson County, Texas, Austin area, has generally been a very Medicare supplement-driven town for years and years and years. But over the last few years, Medicare Advantage plans have certainly been improving. Networks have been growing, and now we're up over the 50% mark here as well. But anyway, another great report by Kaiser Family Foundation. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you're not following them, you're missing the boat, because some of the absolute best data that you can get, not only in the Medicare space, in the Medicaid space, in the ACA space, etc. If you are an agent in health insurance, you should be paying attention to them, because they can definitely tell you what's going on in the market and give you a really good idea of maybe why things are happening the way they are. So moving on, I got one more, and we will jump into the big topic. And this is a hot topic today, man. But Humana, as well as many other carriers we already know, Humana is exiting Medicare Advantage in 13 different markets. 13 different markets. Now, they don't tell us all the markets in this report, unfortunately. But a couple of notes. And again, I've already put this in the group for you, so you will see it. But here's the kicker right here, man. About 560,000 members, which is roughly 10% of their individual Medicare Advantage membership base. About 560,000 members will be affected, which basically means they're going to lose their plan. And Humana says that, hey, we expect we'll probably absorb about half of these people into a different Humana plan. But nonetheless, a little over 500,000 people are going to be affected by this pullout from Humana in about 13 markets. And they're not the only one. I'm not trying to pick on them. WellCare is pulling out in multiple states, not just multiple markets, but they're pulling out in 6 states. We already know that Kansas City Blue Cross, KC Blue, they've already announced they're exiting the market. They were one of the first to announce it. Mutual Omaha got out of the drug plan market. Not that they were much of a big player, but we are seeing a lot of this right now. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but every year, little over 1 million Medicare beneficiaries lose their Medicare Advantage plan involuntarily by no fault of their own, because of exactly this: carriers pulling out of markets, plans getting kicked out of different markets, getting shut down, whatever it may be. And there's certainly no exception this year. It is going to be much larger. If you think about it, every year, and this isn't a joke, every single year, over 1 million Medicare beneficiaries lose their plan because a plan's exiting. It's going to be even bigger this year, because just Humana's saying right here that about 560,000 are affected by their drop. And then you have all of these other carriers. I think Kansas City Blue said about 30,000 members, if I remember correctly, just in their plan. You got WellCare pulling out in 6 states. That's going to be a lot of people. So there is going to be an extremely large disruption of people that are running around this year with guarantee issue rights to enroll in Medicare supplement plans. Not that that might be the right choice for them, but that is another option. But there's going to be a lot of people running around this AEP trying to figure out how in the hell do they get another Medicare Advantage plan. And the areas, in my opinion, that are going to suffer the most are the very rural areas that don't have a phenomenal network to build a very strong Medicare Advantage plan around. So like you're looking in like rural Mississippi, rural Alabama, rural areas of Texas, where some of these PPO plans are probably going away in large quantities. So that's going to leave a lot of people without coverage. And if those plans are 100% exiting those markets, their only option may be to go to a Medicare supplement using their guarantee issue rights. And just to drop this real quick, I don't want to take too much time on it, but if you don't already know, anyone who loses their Medicare Advantage plan involuntarily by no fault of their own through, say, a service area reduction like we're seeing here, obviously they get the option to move into another Medicare Advantage plan during AEP so that they can start up in January, but they also get a 63-day window to enroll in a Medicare supplement plan guarantee issue. The plan the plan availability is going to be dictated, 1, by their state of residence, and 2, by their Part A eligibility date. So I'll just give you one example. In Texas, if they were eligible for Part A prior to January 1, 2020, then they could have an option to enroll in plans A, C, or F guarantee issue due to involuntary loss of coverage. That application would have to be dated within 63 days of their loss of coverage and no more than 60 days in advance, basically. Other states, it would be different plans. And if they're pardon me, I'm still wrecking from allergies here. But if the Part A effective date was after January 1, 2020, then in Texas, it would be plans A, D as in dog, and G as in giraffe. So I will tell you that's not a very commission-rich endeavor. Most carriers will only pay you about a $25 one-time commission if you're going after that type of guarantee issue business. So remember that as an option. But if it's the right thing to do for some of your clients, then maybe damn sure it is the right thing to do with some of your clients, regardless of your commissions. But a lot of stuff going on there. I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. All of these articles are in the group. You can check them out there. Absolutely. And other than that, man, I am super excited to bring on our guest. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about cybersecurity, right? I just opened the show that there's now seeing that data breach from the Move It data breach that happened last year in August is bigger than they thought it was. I have certainly gotten reports of my data being or found, like, oh, we found this password used on the dark web or this email used on the dark web. I've seen some of those announcements. Generally, I just go in and update my passwords. I'm using some security. I can't wait to talk to this dude because I've already got some great questions for him. So put your questions in the chat, in the comments. If you're curious about cybersecurity, if you're thinking, what do I need to think about? What do I need to be doing? Right? What are the right tools? What are the right solutions? What is the right solution for me as an independent agent, a single guy working out of my house or on my laptop versus, hey, what is the necessary utilities for an agency, that's in an office and maybe has 15 employees and lots of computers moving around? Get those questions ready. But welcome to the stage. Put a little virtual hand clap together for Mr. Dan Metcalf. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. You setting aside some time. And thank you, Sandra Gebhardt, for introducing us, a friend of both of ours. But just take a quick moment. Obviously, you're new to our group. We got about 9,000 agents in here that are all independent agents in the property, casualty, Medicare, life and health, annuity space. Take a moment to introduce yourself, who you are, what you're about, and kind of what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yep. So my name, again, Daniel Metcalf. I'm one of the co-founders and the managing partner of CyberFin. We are a cybersecurity as a service organization that specifically represents the insurance and financial services space, right down to the independent individual agent. So we work with both agencies and independent agents on helping them protect themselves from cyber crimes and regulation fines, all in the cybersecurity space. We have developed the best-in-class, only place you can find it, way of doing cybersecurity specific to any size agency that meets both the protection and compliance standpoint of what an agency would need under that the different rules that come up from HIPAA, NIAC, other things like that, or other regulations that are out there. And so we work all across the country, and we love knowledge. Knowledge is power is one of our core values, Tony. And so what I love to do, the best job that I have at CyberFin is I get to come and educate the industry on what's going on in the cyber criminal world, what's going on in cybersecurity, and the compliance and the laws that come along with it.
Awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate you taking time with us. I didn't know that you were tailored, I should say, specific to the insurance and financial services industry, but that's great. Makes it even better for us.
Right.
What's unique to our industry that would make you say, well, let me niche down into this space versus I'll just do cybersecurity for anybody?
Yeah, so we were born out of insurance because our co-founder, Chris Steffel, he owned a life insurance wholesale company. And in my background, I started with banks and credit unions. So I started doing cybersecurity and IT through a managed service provider back in the 2010s. And they became regulated in that standpoint. So Chris reached out to me one day and said, in 2019, and said, hey, Daniel, did you know that now insurance agencies and independent insurance are now also responsible for cybersecurity regulations? I'm like, no way. And he said, yeah, I mean, it's become a really big issue and a big problem. And I just don't think there's a solution out there for, again, myself or my other agency partners to be able to protect themselves and be compliant. So let's put together a service that would specifically be designed for everyone. So it'd make it simple and protective and also compliant at the same time. And so that's where we were born out of. That's the system that we put into place. And what's unique is the fact that there's more than one regulation in that financial services and the insurance space. And it's the number one financial risk to an insurance agency. in an independent insurance is cybersecurity. And that's not what came out from me. That came out from Allianz. And so we're like, hey, number one, they've never been under attack like this before. And cyber criminals weren't really focused in this industry up until about 2015, 2016. Then a number of regulations from multiple different sides started coming out. And then also that there isn't anybody out there that wants to represent down to the independent agent, right? Down into the small businesses. So we knew we had to be able to come up with something that would be allowed to do that.
Makes sense. What's with the uptick? Like, why are we now on the radar for cyber criminals more than we were before? I mean, I have some ideas, but you tell me.
Oh, okay. I'm under the gun here on your ideas, huh? No, so so if you look at it, back in when I was started in the cyber criminal space, towards small to medium-sized businesses, it would be what we call smash and grab crimes, right? So it'd be like, how do I get $1,000 worth of gift cards, or how do I get a couple ones and zeros out of a bank account? How do I fool them in sort of that pieces of it? But what the new gold is, starting in around the 2017, 2018, and then after COVID, it really went up, is data's the new gold. And if you're an insurance agent or agency, you have to collect this data, right? Maintain it, keep it, right? Make sure you take good care of it. And then you need to move it from one entity to the other. You got to store it, but then you have to move it from one place to the other in order to make money. And so the cyber criminal basically understood that. And they're, cyber criminals are no different than any other business owner, right? They're all about the ROI. So they looked at it and said, hey, they have to move the data. The data is gold to me, right? Because that's what I can sell on the dark web, or people are going to want to pay me a ransom to get it back, or they're going to want to pay in some format. And so they started looking at, oh, wow, if we can look at the amount of data and amount of opportunity we have in these independent insurance agents, in these small agencies, in these insurance agencies, financial planners, we can target them all at once now. Instead of having to do one at a time, we can target it all at once. And then another little thing happened. They started to realize the connection to the bigger organizations, right? So they have IMOs, they've got carriers, they've got big businesses they work that they're representing. They've, all these high net worth individuals. So they started also seeing them as a mule. So not only is it a good target because, the lack of infrastructure that's in the insurance agency right now, they weren't really under attack before, right? So not really paying attention maybe, or not even think they're a target. And now they have access to these really big customers and they have to move data. It just became a perfect storm. And like I said, they're in the business too, right? It's just safer than being a cartel member or part of the mob or whatever, being a drug mule, is that, hey, now I can be in business. I can make a lot of money going after this industry. And so that's ended up what happening. And now we're just trying to catch up and help, each of and everyone in the industry to get caught up with these cyber crimes.
Absolutely. You said they could target us all at once.
Yes.
Like how could they target, let's just say 5,000 independent insurance agents that aren't necessarily connected? They don't use the same IMO. They're in different, like, how are they able to target us all at once?
So there's a couple different ways they can do that. But let's just start with social engineering as an example, or business email compromise. So they can use social engineering, right? So they can go and they can do the same reconnaissance the rest of us can, and go on LinkedIn, do Sales Navigator, find out who all the agency owners or independent agents are out there, and they can start running automated campaigns on social engineering and phishing campaigns using a lot of these automation tools like you'd use for simple marketing and marketing automation, right?
Okay.
And then they're going to try to fool you into giving up those credentials. Now, one of your, think of it, there's a lot of people out there that are connected to even yourself, Tony, right? You're connected to these 8,000 people out there, right? They could have compromised your email box and made a complete copy of it and started acting as you, and can now target all these people at once by sending out mass messages and using tools. The other way they can do it is through AI and machine learning. And I know it's all right, but just think of it. It's no different than what I just said. They're still in business too. So they're using AI and machine learning as a way to try to run scripts and run things to go after you all at once, rather than having to pick somebody and do it one at a time. They're getting smarter and they're getting more complex on how they can execute on a number of these at once.
They're getting extremely sophisticated with it, because this is something I've unfortunately had some experience with over a few years. I mean, currently, at least for the last 2.5 years, I'm on my own, running my own business, independent agency owner. Prior to that, for 13 years, I was working for a large corporation as a wholesale marketer.
Sure.
And we have, right, so it's very much a corporate atmosphere. All of the employees have to take this little class on understanding phishing attacks and cybersecurity. fraud, waste, and abuse classes to understand and try to identify this stuff. And I've seen it in so many different ways. I've seen absolutely excellent looking emails from FedEx. I mean, with the logos, everything's in the right place, the footer, the header. I've seen them from Facebook. I've saw them spoof the principal of the agency's email and send to his employee the email that says, hey, I need you to click this link and fill this gift card thing out for me because for some reason my computer's not allowing me to do it. And lo and behold, the employee sure did. He's like, oh, well, Lucas told me to do this. I guess I have to. My boss is telling me. And went and filled it out. Next thing you know, boom, we had an issue. And I'm probably not supposed to say this, but I don't work there anymore. But during COVID, Russians hacked their entire system and held it for ransom. And I'm not just talking about our local office in Austin. I am talking about the entire corporation that runs about 50 different affiliates nationwide. Yeah. So it's extremely sophisticated how they've gotten. Now they're in, because I advertise on Facebook, and this is a complaint everybody that's advertising on Facebook is getting, where you get a message into your Facebook Messenger that says, hey, you trademark infringement, and they're all just trying to get you to click this link. Yep. What happens? Can you help us understand what happens when that link gets clicked?
Yeah, I mean, and if we had time, I have a presentation that I can actually show you the anatomy of attack, and maybe it's for another show. We could do that. But so what happens is what they're trying to do is they're trying to put code, or they're trying to get you to trick you into giving up the credentials. So the main thing that they're trying to do is get your credentials, because if they can get your credentials, or if they can download a piece of software on your computer through your Facebook Messenger, right, that then takes you to a browser, which then they can run a script inside your browser. Maybe they're going to try to take, have you ever saved a login and password on your browser before? Tip number one, please stop doing that. They could exfiltrate the entire, all the logins and passwords inside and try to de-encrypt the logins and passwords inside your browser, right? There's multiple different things that they're going to try all at one time. So it's not just hey, here's one idea I'm going to try to fool them with. They're going to run multiple things at the same time, all through that one click. So think about that. All in that one click, they can run multiple things. Sometimes all they're going to do is they're just testing the fence, we call it, right? So if you ever watched the movie Jurassic Park, and they're testing the fence, right? Sometimes they're just seeing what you're willing to click on, what you're willing to do. If they can learn from you, put a cookie in your browser, something like that they can watch you over time as well. So there's multiple different things of the reason why they would be using that link inside the messenger. And most likely they're just trying to convince you to send them money.
They're just trying to convince you to send them money, like through a ransomware attack type thing?
Well, it could be, hey, you have a trademark infringement. If you want this to go, you click on the link and it starts, scaring the heck out of you that you did something wrong on your average because you tried to do it yourself. Hey, if you want me to go away, you can settle this right now for $1,500, right? And I know no one on this, broadcast would ever get fooled by something like that, but it happens every single day, or else they wouldn't do it, right? You wouldn't see them if it didn't work. And so that's exactly, and again, they're running multiple attacks at once. Not only are they doing it to multiple people, but they're also trying to run multiple attacks at the same time, because, there's whole nation states that, the entire country of North Korea's nuclear missile program is built on fooling Americans into giving them money. So this is what their job is every single day.
And you had mentioned don't save passwords in your browser. Are you talking like the Chrome password manager as an example?
Chrome password manager, whatever's on the Edge version of it, whatever it might be, do not save them in the browsers when it pops up and says, would you like me to save this in this browser? Especially if you're not going to use complex passwords, more than 12 characters, upper, lower case, symbols, things like, making sure that it's very complex and that you're changing them on a regular basis and using multi-factor authentication. Now that's only one layer. Like, that's not going to stop the bad guy, but that, at least if you're going to use those tools, please at least have put the complexity in place.
So 12 characters or more, multiple symbols, letters, blah, 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 right? Super complex. Right. Change that regularly. Like, how regularly should we change our passwords?
I prefer to do it every 90 days, continue to change your password. Another tip that you could do is you could ultimately use a password manager, right? Yep. So, we like to promote the password manager LastPass because it has a built-in multi-factor authentication profile to it, and it's centrally controlled, right? So you as a business owner can have LastPass. You can then have like the business LastPass version where you can then control everybody in your organization's passwords and their multi-factor authentication, so that you don't, right? That way you don't have to rely on making sure your employees, right, or even yourself can continue up with it. You can set policies and different things like, hey, every 90 days we have to reset our master password, or we have to reset these passwords, no duplicate passwords, things like that. From that standpoint of it. But ultimately those are the ways that we can start to make sure that we're putting layers into our organization.
Okay. Some of these, like I've seen them so many times, like I'm getting trained to recognize them, right? But let's say if there's an agent out there that for some reason still hasn't seen this before, hasn't gotten the email from Facebook that's a lie, or the email from FedEx that's a lie with the phishing or social engineering attempt. Right. What are some little things that we can do as a user to recognize a phishing attempt or a social engineering attempt?
Yep. So the first and foremost, it's trust but verify, right? Don't just click, right? Trust but verify. So look through the email. Is it, scroll over the name of the email. Is it really going to the email? Does the email address really look legitimate, right? Or is it being spoofed, right? Roll over the links. Roll over the links inside the emails, and at the very bottom, it'll tell you exactly where the URL is supposed to be going to. I also say take another identity authentication. Send a text message. So if you see something in there that just doesn't feel right, like, would they really ask me for that? Is that really something we should be doing right now? We're in the days of having Teams and Slack and text message and all these things. Text message them or send them a Slack and say, did you really mean to send me this thing? Like, do I really need to click on this RFP right now? Like, you never sent me an RFP before. Things like that is to look out for. And put yourself in the mind of a criminal, right? If you can. What exactly would they be trying to make me do right now, right? They're going to try to, they're trying to get me to click on a link and fill something out. They're trying to get me to download something on my computer. They're trying to engage in a conversation with me to try to learn more information from me, right? Is this really relevant at this time? Is this really something that I should be doing? And remember, they're masking things. They're also looking for masking things that is going to make you click. They might be masking as a carrier. They could be masking as a DocuSign, as an Adobe or something. Like they're thinking of the tools that you also use on a day-to-day basis. That's the old thing is like, oh, it's another Netflix ad, right? No, now they're actually getting smarter on being, using AI. They're getting smarter on what kind of companies that would, send you certain things to try to get you off your game.
Absolutely. It is a constant battle. I feel like for me, the number of incoming attacks, because I already mentioned, like I get them in my Facebook Messenger because we advertise on Facebook. Sure. So I'm not even joking. Every day I probably get 5 to 10 messages in English and Spanish. They became so frequent that I built an automation that recognizes the incoming language and then deletes the contact and blocks it, and then sends me a message just so I can pat myself on the back that says, hey, you crushed spam today. Good job. Right. But I get them in my email. I get them in because I have multiple emails. So they're in my Gmail. They're in both of my office emails that they come in through. And like I said, I've kind of gotten good at learning how to recognize them. But once it happens, let's say you make that mistake and you click something and then you realize, I have a problem. Like what are the problems? Is there a certain sequence of steps that you should take as a user to realize, whoops?
Yeah. And it depends on how much of the oops it is, right? Like what could possibly happen. So the first step that I would take is, stop interacting whatsoever. Like just, whoops, I think I did something. Stop interacting. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to just stop, right? Immediately close anything out that, has any data available to it that you could look at, whatever it might be. And then I would shut down my computer fully, and then I'd restart it back up again. Hopefully that you stopped whatever script that's possibly out there. The next thing that I would do is and I know it sounds like a pain, but I would go through and reset all of my passwords. I would delete all my passwords and I would reset every single password, especially your Outlook or your email, any attachments to your OneDrive, your CRMs, AMS systems, whatever it is, completely shut it all down. And do it for the entire company because you don't know who has access to what.
Right.
And then what I would do from there is I would contact somebody, whether it's within your cyber liability policy or whether it's within your incident response policy that you have in place, if you have it, or with the, or a breach coach or someone like IT professional to help you make sure that, preferably a cybersecurity professional that can help make sure that whatever happened has been mitigated and remediated.
It seems like the risk is higher now, not just because of the sophistication, but because so many of the platforms that we use as agents are all now web-based.
Right.
They're no longer on a hard drive or a CD-ROM.
Right.
Everything I use, I go to the internet, I log into the CRMs and run from there. And some of them have, their own sophistication, their own two-factor authentication you got to turn on and so forth. But it seems like the risk is that much higher because everything is web-based now.
Correct. Yes. Well, just everything in life is getting, more technological every single day, right? So if you think about the infrastructure, so a little bit, inside of Cybersecurity 101 here is your infrastructure, right? That's within your company, right? The technology in your company, it all revolves around 3 items, right? It revolves around your email, your internet, and the devices. And they all talk to each other and they all intersect with each other, right? And not only yourself, but also other employees or other people within your organization. And as more and more things get relied upon to do business, right? Using the device, the internet, and email, right? Your email credentials to get into your CRMs, your email to get into making a quote, sending the quotes from the quoting tool to your email, right? And I have to use the internet to get on my email. I got to use the internet to get to the cloud. I got to use, right? All those things now are all working together. That's increasing your attack surface because, again, cyber criminals, they're not coming into a door. They're not coming in through a physical door. They're not trying to, blow up a safe, right? Or try to get into a building. They're trying to blow up your device, internet, or email connection for them to go and execute their attack. So we have to start thinking in the terms of layers, right? So the biggest difference between what cybersecurity looked like in 2016 to what it looks like now, right, is it went from the castle methodology where as long as everything's inside the castle, you can protect yourself, right? So that's where the firewall and the antivirus, and maybe we'd have some multi-factor authentication, but it had to be in the building, right? Few things changed, right? COVID, one of them, right? Now we have hybrid and we have remote and we were going to sitting at Walmarts and all this. The other thing that changed is being able to do the multiple attacks at once. And the third is that now most of the attacks are coming from the inside, not the outside. So they're actually trying to attack the individual employee or somebody or the CEO or whatever it is inside an organization. They're not trying to use the firewall and the router to get into the company and shut it down. Now they're trying to go from the inside. They're trying to attack the inside. So where cybersecurity is going today, and this is the premise of our proprietary solution, is we now put bubbles around each individual user within the organization, right? So now you've strengthened the organization because every person has cybersecurity, including protecting the internet, the email, and the device itself at any given time, all managed by a cybersecurity guard, 24/7, 365. Because you just mentioned a opportunity where you put in the spam blocking. You're the one that had to go and put all those in, right? And you had to do all that. Well, someday you might not have time to do that, or you're busy and, AP, or you're busy with the, having to do renewals and all those other, and dealing with, I think you mentioned earlier, carriers dropping and moving products and all these. Being a cybersecurity guard isn't necessarily what you want to do all day long, right? So someone's going to end up having to manage it for you. And so that is why we put the service in place, because now you can start to severely lower your risk by using this new methodology, which is by user, right? We're putting layers in. So think of like a cul-de-sac, right? I think they call them circles, maybe in Texas. I don't remember. Yeah. But you got the house that's dark with the bikes hanging out of the garage, and they can see it there. You got the house with the Ring camera and the spotlights, right? When the motion detected spotlights. And then you've got the house with the ADT system, right? Which one is the criminal going to hit up first?
Oh, the house with the open garage, bikes hanging around and everything. Yeah.
Right. Which one are they going to hit second?
The other one, the
Ring camera with the motion detector. Like, what are they really going to do? Right. I work my way into a door. I can grab something. What are they really going to do? Right. ADT system. Wow. That's got multiple layers. I don't really want to deal with it. Right.
Okay.
So that's why we're trying to also create this multi-layered approach, because if they get through your email, right, and you get through your email protection. They put a bad link inside the email. We can rewrite the email, write the link to the email. It goes to our system first. Make sure you're going to the right place on the web. And then they're like, okay, I got through the email, but then there's the stupid secure internet portal blocked it. Right. And now it's alerted somebody in the cybersecurity world. So now they're coming after me, a cybersecurity guard. Man, I got to get out of here. That is what we've now created. And that's what you need to create in your agency if you really want to protect yourself from a cybercrime and from a regulation fine. Because if you start looking through all the rules, that's what they're asking to call reasonable cybersecurity, right? There's 2 rules in the compliance. You have to have reasonable cybersecurity, and you better report an incident prior to a consumer telling us your data was stolen by you. Now, this isn't the legal terms. You should always lawyers and compliance and all that. I'm just giving you my, our interpretation of everything that we've seen up to this point, right? Reasonable cybersecurity, which is putting in multiple layers and making sure you're watching everything. Someone's watching it 24/7, and make sure that you can report an incident. You've got all the policies in place to be able to report. You have all the policies in place that say, hey, this is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing to protect my client's data. And I can report an incident to whatever authorities I need to report it to within the time limit they give it to me.
What would qualify as an incident?
Qualify
One of my agents clicking on a phishing attack?
Yeah, it could. Yeah. If an agent clicked on a phishing attack, and it could have potentially, in many cases, they're just saying potential. Some say that was a breach. Some say potentially. You have to go look at your state specifically. You got to look at, what HIPAA saying specifically. But yeah, it could be as much as clicking on a phishing link, because they might have been able to, within that link, get access to some client data. Okay. Right? Does that email address have access to a OneDrive that has some scope of appointments in it, or has some customer data in it, has some pharmacy card picture in there? Like what do they have access to? And so then you have to report to somebody, say, well, clicked on a link. They do have access to our OneDrive that does have medical information in it, something like that. But always reach out to whatever incident response policy or cyber liability or whatever it might be prior to you just doing that reporting yourself.
What is the risk for me as the agent or agency owner in the event of an attack? And let's say they get access to my CRM, where I've got 5,000, 10,000 clients with names, Medicare numbers, birth dates, etc.
Yeah. So according to if you look at what the rules say, it's up to $50 per belly button, right? Per record, right? $50 per record, per year, up to $1.5 million.
So the cap is $1.5 million.
Yes.
Which they'll probably find a way to get to pretty easily.
For multiple years. It doesn't just go for the one year.
For multiple years.
Right. Each state has their different of what that rules could be. So it could be anywhere from 25,000, max to, 2,500 max. At the end of the day, really the biggest dollar amount you have to worry about is your reputation, right?
Sure.
Your clients find out about it, right? It's not even the ransomware. Yep, ransomware is bad, right? There's real money, real Bitcoin in there, right? But someone's stealing some invoices from you. You're stealing your invoices and then getting people to pay the wrong invoice. That's real money. The real money is in the reputation loss, because how many, you're responsible for these individuals' very specific data, right? It gets out that their data was hacked by you. It's sitting on the dark web because of you, or whatever it might be. That's where they're, well, I can't trust how can I trust my money with you? How can I trust my insurance with you? How can I trust whatever with you? You can't even protect my data, right? So, and then that reputation is where the biggest loss comes from. And that's where we saw an agency go out of business after an attack. It wasn't even just in the fines. It wasn't in the cost of remediation. It was, they knew they were going to lose so many customers. They weren't going to be able to pay for it.
How, just out of kind of playing devil's advocate, how would they know that data breach or their information was hacked, say from me or from a certain agent? Because doesn't their data go all over the place already anyway?
It does. If they end up running a dark web search, or if there's something out there that'll say, hey, here's the information that they have, and this is where it can say, and this was registered at this website or this CRM or this, right, that's out there. Yeah. It doesn't matter. They could just assume, right? The consumer can just assume it came from you and report you, and you could be, it could be incorrect, but that doesn't stop them from saying, hey, I want some replications for my data being out there on the dark web from that standpoint of it, right? There's a lot of things going on right now that gives them the tools to be able to put the blame on somebody.
Sure. Makes sense. So what would you say is reasonable cybersecurity? And is
Yep.
that's their exact definition? Like you got to have reasonable cybersecurity?
Many times it's 24/7 monitoring with reasonable cybersecurity. That's kind of the general
24 by
term that I'm
7.
using. Yep.
Okay.
So reasonable cybersecurity is that you should be able to protect your email, your internet, and the device itself from a breach, and at least be able to report if a breach is going on. It should like set off an alert or something to that effect that something's going on to allow you to respond, right? So you have to be able to understand that, be able to protect yourself, be able to identify if a breach is going on, be able to respond to that and recover from it. So being able to have all of those, that is the reasonable cybersecurity that's in there. And what I'm saying reasonable security is from CyberFin standpoint is think about how you can put layers of security on your three most vulnerable parts, right? Your email, the internet connection, and the device itself, the laptop, the desktop, the mobile phone. Because we all know we're using our mobile phones more than ever, right?
Oh yeah.
And everybody wants to think that because Apple's done a really good job in marketing saying that they're very cyber secure. No, the phone itself and their apps are. That doesn't
Right.
account for all the apps and the public apps that get put onto that phone, right? People texting you pictures of their pharmacy cards and all the other data that they like to send
It's
text messages to,
Dude,
right?
it's amazing what our consumers will send us via text message.
Oh, scary to me. Just scary.
Uh, Pictures of their Medicare card,
Right.
pictures of the prescriptions they're taking, pictures of the letter they just got from Social Security that has all their information listed on it. You're like, come on, man.
Yeah. Then they're putting you at risk, right? And this is what I
Right.
say to everybody. I'm like, yeah, you might be really good at it, but even your customers are putting you at risk. So what are you
Correct.
doing to protect those three things, right? At any given time, the devices, the internet, the email, even from your customers. And we say the same thing to the IMOs and to the carriers, right? What are you doing to protect yourself from the agents? What are the agents doing to protect themselves from their customers? Because that's called supply chain, right?
Yeah.
And supply chain attacks are one of the easiest ways for cyber criminals to get what they want is to start somewhere in the supply and go after the next biggest target, right? It's worth
Makes
it to them.
sense. Makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and be vulnerable with you.
Sure.
I'm using Bitdefender.
Okay.
All right. I've been using Bitdefender for years,
Mhm.
and I've upgraded it slightly.
Sure.
So now I have multiple devices I can manage on it. It has a password manager, so I can
Great.
use that. They're very complex passwords.
Yep.
What else? It has a VPN, which I really can't use that much because most of the carrier sites are now blocking VPNs. What I'm trying to think what else it has on there that I use pretty regularly. Obviously, it has the firewall, all the other stuff. I picked it because I got tired of overly robust virus packages that you would
Yep.
put on your computer, and they take up a ridiculous amount of space and they bog on your computer.
Yep.
And I did some research online, and they were like, Bitdefender is one of the top ones. It's super streamlined, super fast. You can grab the whole package or pieces of the package, etc.
Right.
So it runs quick. It seems to run good as far as I can tell. It definitely alerts me, definitely catches stuff.
Yep.
But like how secure am I really being with a tool like that?
So it always comes down to who's managing it, not the tools, right?
Okay.
And you've even mentioned it, right? So you mentioned it that there's some really great tools out there, right? But I don't want to use the overly complex ones because, it bogs my computer down. It's slow. I'm getting blocked, right? So you're giving up security in exchange for productivity or ease of use, right? And what you can manage. And that's why we got in this business, because you should be using the robust tools, but it shouldn't be you managing the tools. It should be a cybersecurity guard who's managing those tools for you, right? So you should be able to you shouldn't be turning off your VPN, right? Because that should be your virtual private network into your secure internet portal, especially if you're not sitting inside a building that has a firewall, right? So the tool that we use, so what we use at CyberFin is it's an all-in-one tool, much like Bitdefender, but we've meshed it together so that it talks to each other and that a cybersecurity guard can manage it for you. So that when you have a problem saying, hey, the carrier is getting blocked by my secure internet portal, you have somebody to put a support ticket into who's instantaneously going to go and update the VPN so that you can get into all those carriers safely, right? It's going to filter out all the bad emails from you so that you don't have to send out, and then they're going to have a cyber person who's going to go remove all the bad emails from all your employees. so that you're not the one having to send out that email that says, hey, don't click on that email or don't open that email, right? Or you're not getting the 9,000 emails to you saying from your employees, hey, should I click on this? Did you mean to get this? There's somebody actually managing it for them, and they're doing it for them, remediating. So that's where we get, like, the difference is there's a lot of great tools out there. And if you love managing your own cybersecurity and you want to be a cybersecurity guard, just make sure you're using a tool that's all in one, like you're talking about. That's sophisticated. It's going to protect your email, your internet, and the device itself 24/7, 365. If you don't want to do it if you don't want to be the manager, find somebody, doesn't have to be CyberFin, don't matter who it is, find somebody who's going to manage that for you 24/7 and be able to make sure that you're not only staying productive, but protected at the same time.
Makes sense. Makes sense. We had a question come in from the viewing audience. How quickly are they required to respond to an incident?
Each state is different. And if you happen to be in the fine state of New York, you have 48 hours.
Okay. And the
Half the
reason
time you can't even figure out if a breach has happened within 48 hours, let alone be able to report that. So, but that's why they're doing it, right? They're putting the pressure on you to actually add the robustness, the robust tools, add people, add policies and procedures so that you can respond in time. That's how they're pressuring you, if you will, to follow some of these compliances by squeezing the time down.
Yeah, makes sense. Because I mean, like you mentioned 24/7 a couple times, and she follows up her questions like, we got 24/7 security running, but the IT guy that runs it, like, that dude has to sleep every once in a while.
He works 8 to 5P, right? Right. So that's why we have a security operations center here in Minnesota, spread throughout the whole country, that monitors and does threat hunting 24/7, 365 in multiple shifts, because this is what we went to school for. And just like you said, we have 24/7 monitoring, but my IT person, right, has to sleep and go on vacations. Right. That's the bad guys know that. Right. And they also know that most of the IT people in the world, and I used to be a part of one, right, an MSP, we didn't go to school to be cybersecurity guards. Right. We went to school to make computers run, understand software, run networks. We're really good at being the techie geeks. Right. Nobody wanted to be a cybersecurity guard. And that's the difference about what's going on right now is we need more cybersecurity guards. We need more people who that's what they're specifically designed to do. And that's why CyberFin got in this business was, hey, we know you need the representation. We know you need the representation down to the person of one, right? You want to feel like you're an entity of 1,000 with being an entity of one and be able to get that same cybersecurity guard and all the software and tools so that you can protect yourself. So you can worry about selling insurance and maintaining your client base and growing your marketing and doing all that fun stuff. That's the reason why you got in the business, not so that you have to worry about security and compliance.
The stuff we're actually good at.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Please do not ask me to go try and help anyone with their Medicare or their property and casualty personal lines policy. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure going to help you protect you from having to spend any time protecting yourself from cybercrimes.
Excellent. I'm super interested in talking to you a little more further because I'm
great.
I'm in that space where my revenue is not big enough to hire an IT guy.
Right.
Right. I am the IT guy.
Right.
But I don't want to be the IT guy. But by default, I kind of have to be. Occasionally, I hire someone to do a temporary job for me, like, hey, come set this up, fix this little thing for me, and then I can move on. But like when it comes to me setting up a new computer in the office for a new hire, I'm doing that. When it comes to updating all the software and security software, I'm doing that. When it comes to changing the toilet paper rolls in the bathroom, guess what? I'm doing that too. Like I'm that guy of many hats, and the one that I like the least, I'll play janitor all day. I hate being the IT guy. It's not my specialty. I've had to learn to document all the little things that I have to do when I have to install a new computer or when I have to update this or that. And I would much rather just be able to, hey, here's what we're doing.
Right.
Go do it kind of thing. And that's kind of where you guys come in, right?
100%. And you brought up a really good point of one of our core values was to make this simple, right? So we need to be simple, relentless. And part of that was making sure that we can make it simple for anybody to make the decision to invest in their cybersecurity. And so what we've done is we've created a subscription model for those of that, like, are in the same situation you are, where we can make it for less than half of a cell phone bill. So people have no problem, right? You need to have your smartphone bill, right, in order to run your business, right? What if it was half that price to do your cybersecurity to have somebody manage it for you? We had to make it that simple so that everyone could make that easy decision to say, Well, am I a person that likes to do it myself, or I like to have somebody else manage it for me? Oh, and I can afford it. That's the whole reason why we got in this business, right? That's what we focus on every single day. It's
Wow.
all to the
Okay.
level of what type of compliance and how many people are in your business that depends on how much it's going to be. It's no longer about how many devices and having to worry about T&M. Like, one of the other reasons why people don't like to say, hey, I've had a security problem, is they don't have to reach out to somebody and see a bill for $300 an hour, and they can just rack up that bill as high as ever that they want, right? You just know you can budget this because it's zero cost remediation. There's no cost for, if there's an issue, our cybersecurity guard is going to jump right in, and it's all going to be part of your subscription.
Excellent. Excellent. What and you opened the show saying that you guys can work with anybody from some of the larger agencies all the way down to the individual guy that's sitting in his home office, or maybe he's grabbing his laptop and he's going to hang out at Starbucks.
Yep.
And let's talk about that for a second, because I have agents that I work with that are remote, right? They're not hanging out in my office, and sometimes they just bounce over to Starbucks or to the library, and they hop on that Wi-Fi, and then they log into all their web-based platforms. Now, on his laptop, he might have Bitdefender running or whatever it might be, but how open is he now at that level versus when he is
he's
sitting
wide
back
open
in his
at
home
that
office?
point. One of our most recent clients, unfortunately, they came to us after there was a breach, but they were actually at the airport on their way to another, to a vacation destination or whatever it was, wanted to hop on laptop quick, use the Boingo Wongo, whatever, thought he was getting on the airport Wi-Fi, and ended up it was a spoof of a Wi-Fi. And they ended up taking all of his contacts data, figured out how to get into his email box, took all his contacts data, literally while he's sitting at the airport. We're not talking about like 25 days later, which usually happens. They did it while he was sitting on the airport and already had run a phishing campaign out of his email box before he left the airport. All because we're moving fast, right? We're trying to work by not having the secure internet portal that we can put on your device for you. By not having that, or having your employee have it, you now run the risk at whatever you have to do at that particular moment, right? You're going to do what you need to do in order to get your business done, right? And so instead of having to worry about that, let's put the right tools and the right people in place to make sure you don't have to deal with that. But you're wide open. If you have kids at home, or if your employees have kids at home that are using PS5s and Xboxes, and they play the Roblox and they have Snappy Chat and all that kind of stuff, those are wide open pipes. Those are wide open pipes to the internet, because in order for them to play with their friends or be able to talk in real time, they have to have pipes in the internet. What do you think the bad guys are using the most, right? They're using those pipes to try to get into those home Wi-Fi. Are you going to put a firewall in your employee's house? You're going to spend $3,000 on the application to put in his house, or do you want to put in a secure internet portal, right? Oh, I don't want to, I don't want to require them to have to do stuff like. We have to start thinking in those terms of how are we protecting the internet, the email, and the device wherever they are. And that's why we put the bubbles around each individual person. Wow.
Well, this has been super enlightening. It's a lot more, it's a lot more in depth than I thought it was, truthfully. So I definitely want to talk to you some more and hear about what you guys can do to remove me. Mainly, that's my whole goal. Remove me from having to deal with it.
Yeah, sure.
And I can just turn it over to a pro. But you did mention at the beginning of the show, I think, something about a free assessment that you're willing to offer to folks. So I just wanted to ask, like, how, if people want to get in touch with you, what's one of the best ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a part of and endorsed by many associations. So NABIP, Big I, PIA. And so with our relationship with them, they are helping assist you in getting free cyber assessments for all those within the local chapter. And so what we've done is I've given you a link. You can sign up for your free assessment. It's 30 minutes. You don't have to be technical. You don't have to bring all your tech stuff with you. It's 30 minutes. We have a very specific way of figuring out where you're most vulnerable. We'll give you a recommendation. It's totally free to you, no obligation. So you don't have to go with CyberFin in order to get your recommendations from that standpoint. And we will show you where your gaps are and how to fill those gaps, both from a protection and a compliance standpoint. And you get to pick the time that's most convenient for you. So it's calendar features. So you pick you go to the link, fill out the information, pick the right time for you. You can invite guests but don't feel like you need to be technical. It's worth 15 to 30 minutes of your time just to sleep better at night. And so that's what, with our relationships with those associations, they've been kind enough to help support that for their agencies.
Excellent. Well, I put the link that you gave us for the free assessment. That is in the comments of the chat. So guys, if you're looking to beef up your security, you're looking to ask some questions, you're looking to find out how at risk your system might be. Click that link, get your free assessment set up. Man, Daniel, I really appreciate you taking time. This has been much more eye-opening than I thought it was going to be. Like, there was a few things that I really didn't quite get.
Sure.
Like, I didn't realize how much we can be on the hook for as an agent, right? If someone,
Right.
like, I would think if someone hacks my system and gets into my Agency Block CRM, that's Agency Block's fault.
Yeah.
But no,
Well, it's
that's
not.
my fault.
Right. Right. And
That's
now
my
you're
fault
responsible for everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Because it was your credentials that got into the agency block. Right. And if you go read your terms and policies, you'll see they explicitly say that we just provide the tool. It's your responsibility to protect it.
Makes sense completely.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much.
Welcome,
We
Tony.
got
We're
that
on
link
with
in there. If people just want to reach out to you direct, what's the best way to find you, like on social media, LinkedIn?
Yep. LinkedIn. Yeah. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm always putting tips and tricks. That's one of my, again, educating the industry is one of my favorite things to do. So I'm always putting out tips and tricks on LinkedIn. Daniel Metcalf is the name on LinkedIn, or CyberFin specifically. You could also just follow CyberFin. And as well as, if you use the email address protectme@cyberfin.net, that goes directly to me as well. I love answering people's questions about technology, about cybersecurity, about rules and regulations. That's what I get to do every single day, and I'm super excited to do it. So protectme@cyberfin.net goes directly to me. Easy way for you to remember.
Perfect. We will get that email in the comments as well, man. Thank you again so much.
It's my
Thank you
pleasure.
guys, as always, for tuning in. This has been outstanding. As always, if you missed the live, right, this always gets pushed to YouTube, so you can always find our recorded videos there, as well as the bite-sized segments. Maybe the long form is not good enough for you, or it's too long for you. Your attention span's not there. Look us up on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, etc. You can find the bite-size, the snack size information there. So look us up, and tune in next week as well, because we are going to have Nir Patel from Virtuous Benefits. He is disrupting the group market with direct primary care, and we're going to talk pretty in detail about that. So thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Daniel, and we will be catching you guys on the flip side. Have a great week.